Every story has layers: the surface, the silence, and what's hidden just beneath. I'm Tabitha, and this is Shining a Light, where we will peel back the truth, one story at a time. And this one starts with ambition, with ego, and with a vessel called the Titan, a submersible that offered the ultra-wealthy a chance to touch history by visiting the wreck of the Titanic. But just below the surface, literally and figuratively, something was wrong. Something was always wrong. Let me take you back. It was June 18th, 2023, a calm day in the North Atlantic. 5 men stepped into a submersible smaller than a minivan. Their goal? To reach the final resting place of the Titanic, more than 12,000 feet below the surface. On board were Stockton Rush, CEO of OceanGate and the architect of this mission, Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son, Solomon. Harnish Harding, billionaire and adventurer, and Paul Henry Nargalat, a man who knew the Titanic better than anyone alive. The hatch was sealed from the outside. Once they were in, there was no getting out, no escape route, no emergency release, just 5 lives inside a carbon fiber tube, held together by bolts, hope, and a $250,000 ticket. They believed they were going to the ultimate adventure, but they didn't realize they were also stepping into a ticking clock. Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, wasn't just some businessman with a cool toy. Rush saw himself as a disruptor. He compared himself to Elon Musk. He believed deep-sea exploration was stuck in the past, shackled by outdated safety codes and overly cautious thinking. He wanted to rewrite the rule book, and honestly, he did.
At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. Yeah. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
That quote tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. He believed that breaking the mold meant taking risks, big ones. He thought regulation slowed down innovation. But here's the thing. Rules are written in the blood of past mistakes, and Rush ignored them all. In 2018, the Marine Technology Society sent a letter to OceanGate warning against carrying passengers without proper certification. Rush dismissed it. David Lockridge, OceanGate's own director of marine operations, filed a safety report. He said the carbon fiber hull hadn't been properly tested, that the design was dangerous.
There we go. So what is today? 18th?
19th.
19th, 1 o'clock. Recording this. Okay, so first question. Give me some background. What brought this on? How long have you had some of these concerns?
Basically, I'm not naive. I could sense the mood.
Part of it is I also want to know what led up to this and what's your goal with this document?
Well, no, the goal for this document for me is the safety of anybody that goes in there, including you.
It's completely opposite of what everyone else says. Everyone says, oh, carbon fiber can't handle compression. They're full of shit, and I've proven them to be full of shit. You know, it's been an 8-year project. I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay.
So, keep going.
In terms of you going in the submersible, I am so against you doing it.
I understand.
We should be putting that sub on a wire with everything that's expected.
I understand that's I know that's your issue. So, and a wire is not without safety issues, for one. Well, and secondly, this is how we're doing it, period. I've looked at it. You know, what you do is you set a testing program where you do it incrementally. It's not going to just go to 3,100 and be perfect, and at 3,200 it all goes away. That ain't going to happen, and I will put my life on the line to say that ain't going to happen. I don't want anybody. I don't want anybody in this company who is uncomfortable with what we're doing. We're doing weird shit here, and I am definitely out of the mold. There's no question. I'm doing things that are completely non-standard, and I'm sure the industry thinks I'm a fucking idiot. That's fine. They've been doing that for 8 years, and I'm going to continue on the way I'm doing. But I'm not going to force people to join my religion if they don't want to.
What happened next? He was fired. The Titan was built using materials and systems that had no business being 12,000 feet underwater. A carbon fiber hull, a Bluetooth video game controller, no emergency locator beacon, no backup communication, and one of the viewports only rated for a third of the depth they were diving to. And yet, passengers boarded. They signed waivers that mentioned death 3 times just on the first page. They trusted Stockton Rush. Quote, every expedition we've had issues. I was told we had no choice. End quote. That is quoted from one of OceanGate's own engineers. A lead engineer. Let that sink in. A lead engineer raising the alarm, and instead of being heard, he was shut out. On the morning of the dive, the Titan was launched from its support ship, the Polar Prince. For the first hour and 45 minutes, all seemed fine. Then, nothing. Contact was lost completely. A frantic search began. The Coast Guard, Canadian authorities, private vessels, all rushing to help. News anchors counted down how many hours of oxygen were left. The world watched in suspense. But what most didn't know, and what some military officials already suspected, was that the Titan had likely already imploded. U.S. Navy sonar had picked up a sound consistent with a catastrophic collapse almost immediately after the sub disappeared. A low-frequency boom, quick, final. It told the Navy everything they needed to know, even as the world still hoped for a miracle. When the pressure at those depths hit, it doesn't wait. It doesn't hesitate. It crushes instantly. There's no warning, no suffering, just gone. Imagine the weight of a skyscraper collapsing into something the size of a soda can. That's what happened to the Titan. By June 22nd, debris was located near the Titanic site, the nose cone, the tail section, pieces of the pressure chamber scattered nearly 1,600 feet from the Titanic herself. What was meant to be a once-in-a-lifetime journey became a final descent into darkness. What makes this harder, what makes it unforgivable, is that it was preventable. This wasn't some mysterious malfunction. It was the exact kind of failure experts had warned about over and over and over again. The design, the materials, the lack of testing, the total disregard for procedure. There weren't secrets. They were red flags. Bright, screaming, undeniable red flags. And they were ignored. This wasn't bold exploration. This was a high-stakes gamble disguised as innovation. And 5 people paid the price. OceanGate has since shut down its operations. Investigations are still ongoing. The U.S. Coast Guard launched a formal investigation in partnership with Canadian authorities, the National Transportation Safety Board, and international partners. A Marine Board investigation, the highest level of inquiry under U.S. maritime law, was convened to determine the cause of the incident and to make recommendations for future safety. This board has been reviewing evidence from the wreckage site, interviewing experts and witnesses, and analyzing the design and decision-making process behind the Titan's development. While the final report has not yet been released, preliminary findings confirm structural failure consistent with a pressure-induced implosion. Several families of the victims have filed legal action, including wrongful death lawsuits and civil claims for negligence. Legal experts argue that although the sub was not bound by traditional maritime certification laws, the company still had a duty of care, a duty that many believe it flagrantly violated. One lawsuit filed by a former OceanGate consultant alleges the company ignored repeated safety warnings and knowingly risked passengers' lives. There may also be international scrutiny as more regulatory bodies begin to examine the legal gray areas around deep-sea tourism. Lawsuits are coming. But beyond the headlines and the lawsuits, a deeper question remains. How was this allowed to happen? Who do we hold accountable when ego overrides caution, when money drowns out warnings? The Titan disaster isn't just about one doomed sub. It's about what happens when innovation races ahead of responsibility. There's no regulation right now that governs tourist submersibles. OceanGate wasn't required to get certified, and so they didn't. That's not exploration, that's recklessness. Thank you everybody for tuning in. This has been Shining a Light, and I'm Tabitha, peeling back the layers, one story at a time. Stay curious, stay aware, and above all, keep the light on. Before we go, here's a glimpse of what's coming next on Shining a Light.
Ties to a cult may have led to a fatal shooting in Monroe County. A woman is now in custody for shooting her boyfriend in the head.
Police say 42-year-old Barbara Rogers called 911, claiming she shot her boyfriend, 32-year-old Stephen Mineo, and he was dead. Rogers told police she and Mineo were members of a cult centered on aliens and raptures, headed by a woman named Sherry Schreiner.
Next episode, we dive into one of the internet's strangest and darkest corners, the world of Sherry Schreiner. She was a self-proclaimed prophet who built a cult-like following through Facebook, preaching about reptilian aliens, government conspiracies, and spiritual warfare. But her online sermons didn't just warp beliefs, they influenced real lives. And in one chilling case, they may have led to murder. We'll explore how a Facebook group spiraled into fanaticism and how a young woman named Barbara Rogers ended up pulling the trigger, killing her boyfriend, Stephen Mineo, one of Schreiner's most devoted followers. Get ready, because this one isn't just bizarre, it's dangerous.